Om Sadashivat Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Razmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyo Mabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay. We are closing now, we are concluding the Drsya, and I want you all go to the verse 41 on the page 76. Okay, so I want 74, sorry, page 74, because we have to begin from the page 39, but on the page verse 39, but here there is a summary, a recap that Swamiji presents that is going to help us to review and to contextualize today's class. Okay, so here he says that the author is condensing Vedanta teaching in the verse 32, and in this summary he introduced the three kinds of jivas. So it is a unique kind of teaching in which the author presents the concept of Paramarthika Jiva. So we know that there is a Jiva of the awakened state, experiencing the physical material waking world, and then there is the dreamer, the Pratibhasikas, the so-called Pratibhasika Jiva, Vyavaharika Jiva, experience the physical material universe, the Pratibhasika Jiva experiencing the dream world, and then he introduced the notion of the Paramarthika Jiva, El Jiva, that somehow has the knowledge, understanding of its true, fundamental, essential nature as limitless original consciousness. And then he was giving the nickname of Paramarthika Jiva, okay? A Jiva with a firm, clear, and always available knowledge in respect of its true nature. So here presents that is a unique teaching. It's present here in the final stage of the Drsya, which is a text that to begin with was not really attached to the Drsya, but later on was attached as the summary of the Drsya, in which these further elaborations were present. And we see in those elaborations, we have the concept of the three jivas. So we have one original jiva, and we have two reflected jivas, so to speak. We have one original consciousness and two reflected consciousness. Reflect consciousness in the awakened state is normally known as the Jiva Atma, or the Vyavaharika Jiva. The Jiva connect to its physical body and subtle body, a subtle body hooked into its physical body. It is the real experiencing entity. And in this condition, we have the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is what? It's reflect consciousness in the awakening state, operating through the physical body, experiencing the physical material world. So this is the Vyavaharika Jiva. It's Chidabhasa. Why? Because it's reflected consciousness. And then in dream state, we have another sort of reflected consciousness. It reflects in the same subtle body, but the subtle body of the Jiva Atma, it's under the influence of more rajas and rajas and sattva, and less tamas, so to speak, because it projects a reality in the dream states. We need a lot of Shakti, you know, the Nidra, né? Shakti. É um Shakti provided by Ishvara, which so energetically projects the vasanas into a sort of subjective reality. So in this condition, we have again the subtle body, you know, producing a certain reflection, okay? And this reflection is what we call the dream world, okay? The Pratibhasika world, né? The Pratibhasika Jiva, of the dream Jiva experiencing the dream world. So in both cases, we have Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means reflected consciousness. Huh? And then he brings in the concept of the Paramarthika Jiva, which is a Jiva that can only be conceived within the awakened state, meaning to say the Vyavaharika Jiva, okay? Living through this apparent reality that we call the Vyavaharika, yeah? But he lives with the understanding of the real nature of everything, including of it itself. It knows the true nature of him or herself. It knows the true nature of the means by which, you know, the physical body, the instrument to experience the Vyavaharika. And he knows it's to be an apparent reality, knows the world to be an apparent reality, and then he knows that the only reality is Satchitananda. It's one's conscious existence in which this phenomena and the three states and so on, many other things. In this teaching, we don't analyze the Pranya Jiva, as I mentioned in the previous class, okay? We don't go in the previous class, in the Pranya Jiva. Why? Because the idea here is to analyze Jiva's experience, okay? And the reality of the dream world and the reality of this physical material world. When we know that in the dream state, in the deep sleep state, there is nothing really tangible to be seen as a universe, okay? There is the absence of experiencer and objects of experience, okay? So within this context, we talk about two Chidabhasas in one original consciousness and two reflected consciousness. And within the reflected consciousness in the awakened state, we can recognize, and only then in the awakened state, we can recognize what is original consciousness as the true reality and the only reality, and which is the essence of the Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika Jivas, and the Vyavaharika world and the Pratibhasika world. So only in the awakened state, Jiva can understand this other factor or principle, which is presented here as a certain knowledge that gives the status to this yani, you know, in this language, in this analysis here, as the Paramartha Jiva, né? The Jiva who knows I am that Paramartha, I am that Brahman, okay? But it's within our human experience as a Vyavaharika Jiva, né? So he presents those three Jivas, huh? And then he goes explaining to us in the previous verse now that the Pratibhasika Jiva, né? The one who dreams the dream world in the middle of the night or in the afternoon having a nap, yeah? The Pratibhasika Jiva, when he's in the dream world, he takes it to be reality. But upon awakening, he sees that as a false reality or just unreal or a dream, okay? So we all know that it's so easy to attribute irreality to this experience, you know, of the so-called dream world. Why? Because it is there while we experience it, but it disappears. And then something that is present now but disappears in the next moment, we understand to be a mere appearance, not really real, okay? So it's easy for the Vyavaharika to discard the Vyavaharika world as unreal, no? And this is the Pratyabhasika Jiva, sorry. Upon waking up, he understands that no, the only reality is what? Is the physical material Vyavaharika world. And I am the Vyavaharika Jiva. I am the true deal here. I'm the real deal. I'm the only reality. And this world is real. And why it's so difficult for us to accept the teachings of Vedantas that asserts, that this too is a sort of a dream. Why? Because even if we learn those things, even if we look, we process the teachings, in the light of the teachings that asserts, presenting evidence, clear evidence, knowledge, analysis, proving that this is another dream, such as another dream, is still the jiva, the Vyavaharika Jiva, the one in the awakened state experiencing the physical material world. This Jiva has a hard time to accept that this is not real. And why so? Because in the dream state, once we come out of the dream, okay, the dream disappears. But in the awakened states, the Vyavaharika Jiva, once it gets the knowledge, awakes from the dream that this is real, is still this Vyavaharika persists. It's not like in the dream that it poof disappears and then we say, oh no, it was there and it's no longer there. It's just like a mirage. So now in the macro level, the Jiva, which in its secondary apparent nature lives within the realm of this macro, you understand? So you need to have a macro vision to understand this is a dream. And who is dreaming it? Maya, you understand? Ishvara, with the collaboration of all of us. Okay, so you need to develop a macro vision, of the teachings of Vedanta to understand that this too is a dream. You understand? And who is dream? We can say that we are all dream because we provide our dreams, our ideas, our aspirations, our hopes, desires and aversion. We provide it all to Ishvara, and Ishvara again and again molds our reality, our Prarabdha karmas, according to the material we provide. So who is dreaming is? We say it's my Ishvara, and dream is from what? From the eternal, beginningless macrocosm causal body, which is the body of vasanas, which fundamentally is constituted by ignorance, provided by all human beings. You understand? So who is dreaming is? No, it's not dreaming because it's here. The tree persists, everything persists. I studied the Upanishad. I was talking to Ronaldo before we begin the class. A lot of people have a great intellectual knowledge of Vedanta, academic knowledge, but still, they cannot even conceive the idea that the light, the absolutely seer, this consciousness in which all the secondary seers resolve, they have a hard time to internalize that and take that as the only reality, and take even the Vyavaharika world as a dream, a projection, or a reflection within my consciousness. So it requires a lot of knowledge, and this knowledge is very subtle, and it has to be on a macro level so that we understand Maya, Ishvara to a certain extent. You understand? The power of Maya needs to be understood as well, so that we can make peace with this kind of statement, that this too is a dream. You understand? And who is dream? Maya, Ishvara. And why it is a dream? There are many arguments, many solid evidence. One of them is that it's not always present, because we have three states, and in deep sleep, that reality disappears, and in the dream states, that reality disappears, and then which appears is the dream world. So how can something be absolute reality if it's present so only in one of those states? You understand? So we have three reflecting mediums, even the Pranya Jiva, it has a pale reflection of consciousness in that kind of causal body. And then this physical reality appears only in one of those three, two. And furthermore, we have pralaya, on which everything is resolved in Brahman or in Maya, huh? And everything disappears. It's not there anymore, just like a mirage. You understand? Appears and disappears, appears and disappears. And what is that which is always ever present, that can never be not present? It's the consciousness, which is our true nature, in which all these change phenomena are just like a passing show. This is the only reality. And this is the most simple thing to be understood. You understand? But it's very subtle. How are you going to establish your identity as this conscious existence unless you have a very sattvic and subtle intellect to comprehend it not as a philosophy, but as a fact? You understand? I have to define myself, and I have to define myself as one of these jivas, one of these states, one of these 5 levels of human experience, the 5 koshas, and so on. So why not to define myself as my true essence, fundamental nature? Why not? Ignorance is persistence, okay? And it's going again and again. We need to have this knowledge, and we need a very qualified intellect, as I was talking to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo talking to me, that the difficulty is that people take it on the informational academic level without understanding and developing. Why Vedanta is often presented as a vision, is the vision, the macro vision of reality, which includes mithya, and you view it from satya. So you see the phenomenal world from satya, not from within the phenomenal world. Why the scientists are never going to find the God particle? Because they want to look for it within the phenomenal world as an individual, objectifying phenomenal objects. So no, you have to stand in satya, and then you're going to have the entire vision of Maya and its projection. Not that you're going to understand this incredibly intelligent ignorance, called Maya Ishvara, the way, it somehow projects, sustains, and recycles the entire universe from moment to moment. So you're not going to develop the knowledge of Ishvara, but you have the big picture. You understand? You have a qualified mind, which allows you to understand that this too is a dream, okay? And we can see it as a dream of all of us together, or a gente can just attribute it to Maya, because Maya, someone has to be blamed. You know that human nature has this incredible vasana to blame something or someone for our problem. So to make mistakes, as the proverb says, to make a mistake is human, but to blame somebody else is even more human. So we blame Maya, no problem. We just joke about that, but there is no blame, because this is an organic, is one single organism. This mithya, is composed by Jiva, it's a venture, which includes Jiva and Maya Ishvara. Understand? We are playing together. Okay, I want to present this context just to begin our class. So when the Paramarthika Jiva wakes up, the dream world disappears. When I, the Vyavaharika Jiva, wake up and I claim my true nature as Brahman, as Paramartha, as Paramarthika Jiva, the awakening world does not disappear, but it's seen as unreal from my standpoint. You understand? What is going to insulate us from the suffering of the world is this firm understanding and conviction that this world belongs to Satya, and I am Mithya, and I am Satya. And nothing of Mithya can really affect me. Why? Because this is not real, although it persists. I mean, what persists? A mirage on the desert persists once we understand the physical phenomenon. But now you see, and you are not deceived by that. The blue sky persists, but now you know the sky is no blue, and so on. Knowledge is going to solve this problem without canceling something that is under the jurisdiction of Ishvara, not you. My Ishvara is doing the project, right? So therefore, for the Paramarthika Jiva, he's going to claim it's through nature, yeah? But the experience continues, and why this experience continues for the Paramarthika Jiva, yeah? And then we're going to say it's due to one's Parabhada karma. So we have a Parabhada karma, okay, which is in our own account. And this Parabhada karma continues producing the world to us until we lose this instrument of experience. And then, depending on our certainty of self-knowledge, so our Parabhada karma is exhausted, and we are no longer going to be given another instrument of experience, you understand? To experience the world believing it is real. Nobody is incarnated unless there is still some misconception, misunderstanding, or misidentification with the body, the physical body, and the physical world, okay? Because what brings us into a new birth are the desires for more of this experience, and we only desire that if there is certain level of investment in the reality of this game. Maybe there are some exceptions, some yanis that come on the account of the universal karma, or some yanis that come because they have a vasana for praising the Lord, like we heard from in the case of Vedananda. Okay, so I want just to go through this one, which is a recap that gives us a nice intro and to contextualize. And then now we go for the verse 39. We haven't done the 39 last class, right? We did? Okay. So these two objects, namely the perceiving self. What is the perceiving self? A perceiving I. As we know, I as consciousness, I can see the ego. I can see the thought called aham, I, the self. Eu sou, I am. I am and I exist, and I know that I am, I know that I exist. So we have two objects. One is the ego, the aham, the perceiving self, the perceiving experiencing agent, and what? And the perceived world. So we have Jiva and we have Jagata, okay? These are two objects. Creation is sustained by these three pillars. Ishwara, the creator, the creation, Jagata, and the Jiva, the experiencing agent, okay? The creature that was designed to experience the creation. So these two objects, the perceiving aham, the perceiving self, the perceiving mind, the perceiving I, and the perceived world through this perceiving I, which is the ego. Both are illusory on account of their having exists only during a period of time, which is the dream experience. So in the verse 39, he's still commenting on the Jiva in the dream state, okay? We know that there is a dreamer, there is a experienced entity of the dreaming state, which is the dreamer, and we have the dream world, okay? So in the dream, we have those experiences, okay? So we know that they are illusory. It is because no one, after waking up, can recollect or reproduce or dream those dreams again. So probably we all have had that experience of what is the experience of saying we have a beautiful dream, and then when you start waking up, you fall say, oh no, I don't want to wake up because this dream is what I was dreaming my entire life. So I want to stay in my dream. But then the mind starts waking up because there is, certain vasanas playing there. There is more rajas in this case. There is more rajas and tamas to bring about the physical entity and the physical world. And then what happens? That we want to close our eyes and go back to the dream because it was so enjoyable, and we can't do it. We can. And then that dream, okay, it cannot be real. It's absolutely unreal. The awaker jiva and the awaking world, they are false projections, just as the dreamer jiva and the dream world are. So he was talking about the dream. Although this verse now he starts shifting to the awaker. He says now that also the awaker jiva is as false as the dreamer jiva. Okay, this is described in great detail in the second chapter of the Mandukya Karika. Here the author says that even though both the waking and the dream are unreal, there is gradation gradation in that unreality. Okay, so we have the dream as unreal and the dream as unreal. There is certain gradation in that unreality. Because of this gradation, and only because of that, the awakening is called vyavaharika, yeah? And the dream is called pratibhasika, even though both are projections. So there are two levels of projection, 2 degrees of projection, 2 gradations of projection, okay? One is a projection that brings about the jiva, the awaker jiva, and the other is a projection that brings about the dream jiva. Yeah? So it presents as 2 gradations. Why is dream called pratibhasika? Why it's called pratibhasika? Because it is a reflection, it is a chidabhasa producing a reflected universe, okay? And it's called pratibhasika because, as we know, it's our own recollection, our own memories, mental, emotional, and causal, even, you know, all the subtle impressions that somehow they become more clearly visible to the dreamer. So why? And there is a certain power there that produces this. So in why it's called pratibhasika, the awaker world, even so, though the awaker world is unreal, there is continuity for this awakened world. Thus, the awakening world has an empirical, practical reality that seems to be continuous. It does not have absolute reality, being a projection, and we will understand it as I already presented in the introduction. It is a transaction reality. However, the dream does not have any continuity from one dream to another. Once it's broken, we cannot glue it together. We cannot reconnect and say, no, I want to continue on that dream because it was great. No, there is no continuity. There are gradations between the 2 dreams. And why the dream is called pratibhasika? It is a reflection, and it is subjective, and it is a reflection that once the projection is broke, it never repeats itself. Okay, so sometimes I have the impression that I have some dreams that repeat themselves, but I'm not quite sure. You understand? Maybe it's my interpretations of the dreams that somehow modify the dreams to create new impressions that somehow pops as a dream, which is slightly different from the original one. You understand? Ronaldo, you are going to say something, or?
Veja bem, Arlindo, uma coisa interessante, dá para ver que aqui também é igual ao sonho, porque se você observar, se você tirar o fator memória, você vai ver que cada momento surge e desaparece para não se repetir. Então, a memória é que faz a interligação entre os momentos. Sim. Por isso que a gente tem a falsa ideia de que isso aqui é mais real do que o sonho. No sonho, os momentos surgem e desaparecem porque não tem o elemento memória influenciando. Sim. Mas aqui, se eu tirar a memória, o momento vai e nunca mais volta. A memória é que mantém isso como se fosse real.
Okay, so Ronaldo presents a very nice, very beautiful logic here. He brings in the memory center of the Jiva Atma. So in the awakened states, we have the memory files at our disposal, and everything we experience is registered in a conscious level. And then because we hold the memory of everything, it gives us a sense of continuity, because otherwise, even the Vyavaharika, the awakened state, would be seen as discontinued. In the dream state, it's discontinued because we don't have a memory system there, you know. Whatsoever memory we catch of this dream, it fades very quickly upon awakening, you know. So in the awakened state, we are holding those impressions. Yeah? We have a memory system in the conscious level and the subconscious level. And Ronald is saying that if we would lose our memory system, we would experience this reality more or less like the dream. And we know some examples of people who have some cognitive illness, such as Alzheimer and some others, that, as James says, you can tell the same joke over and over again, and the person is going to have a great laughter. Why? Because the memory is not playing anymore. And strangely enough, without the memory, we don't suffer any anxiety, expectation, frustration, you know, because our files were canceled. Understand? So it's a very good point. However, the dream does not have any continuity from one dream to another. The dream world exists only as long as the dream is experienced. When a particular dream is over, the world associated with it ceases to exist, never to be retrieved. The dream does not have an empirical, practical reality, does not have an objective reality, or a continuing reality, and so cannot be called vyavaharika. Vyavaharika is this objective, physical, material reality. When the dream is experienced, it is real for only the dreamer, from the standpoint of the dreamer, and so it's called pratibhasika. Okay. However, whatever temporary reality it has got or experience during its appearance is called pratibhasika. It is a subject reality, it's a mental reality. It's happening in our unique individual minds. No? Everybody has their own dream world. After waking from the dream, the same dream never continues while dreaming again. Thus, a given dream has only fleeting existence, fleeting experience, fleeting appearance. You know, it appears and disappears. Okay. Then we go to the verse 40. He who is the illusory Jiva thinks the illusory world as real. But the empirical Jiva thinks the world as unreal. So we are talking again about the dreamer who thinks that the dream world is real, but upon becoming the awaker Jiva, the world is seen as unreal. That world, the dream world, is seen as unreal. Nothing new, it's just a repetition. The author says that in dream, the Pratibhasika Jiva refused to accept the Pratibhasika Jagata as unreal projection. With rare exceptions, because I already had certain dreams that we seen the dream. This was after I got into Vedanta. We seen the dream, I start questioning the dream, you know, and then I said, no, there is something strange here. This must be a dream. And then I woke up from the dream. But it's rare. To see it as unreal projection, the Jiva has to wake up and gain the knowledge that he is the awaker, the Vyavaharika Jiva. As the awaker, the Vyavaharika Jiva, the dream is effortless, seen as unreal. We have no problem to classify that as a dream, an illusion, a false reality. The same is true for the Vyavaharika Jiva with regard to the awakening world. The same thing, it's a different kind of awakening. That's why there is so much usage of this word, the awakening. They present self-knowledge or enlightenment as an awakening, because you awake from the the fantasy, the dream that this reality and the reality of this body mind is absolute reality. So you come to wake up for that condition, but with a clear difference that once you wake up to the reality of the self, which is the the Paramarthika Jiva, and the irreality of the world itself is not going to disappear. So this, to see it as a real projection, the Jiva has to wake up and gain the knowledge that he is the Vyavaharika Jiva. As a Vyavaharika Jiva, the dream is effortless discard as mithya. The same is true for the Vyavaharika Jiva once it wakes up to its true nature as the Paramarthika Jiva. And this is going to be elaborated in the verse 41. The verse 41 says, he who is the empirical Jiva sees the empirical world as real, but the real Jiva, the Paramarthika Jiva, knows it to be unreal. So it's the same concept. It's going to see it, and it's going to see based on knowledge. The knowledge is going to be sustained by logic. And then once it sees it, it's going to shift its identity to that which is the only reality, which is so subtle. As the scripture says, the most subtle of the subtle, the subtlest of the subtle. So our true reality, our true nature is so subtle that cannot be even objectified. Yet it's the only reality, and everything else is a reflection or projection within this mirror of Satchitananda. So upon this knowledge, we're going to know that the only absolute reality is the light of consciousness, the absolute seer. And this is the awakening by self-knowledge, okay? However, the Yoni who claims that I am this Brahman, I am this Pratibhasika Shidabhasa, I am, now he presents the Pratibhasika Jiva as the Pratibhasika Shidabhasa, which is, it reinforces the way I was elaborating. He says here that, let me open it here to see you guys. He's talking that the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa. Okay, I'm sorry. I was make a confusion here. I was reading it wrong. However, a Jiva who claims that he is neither the Pratibhasika Chidabhasa nor the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa, but he is Paramarthika Jiva, no longer a Chidabhasa, no longer conscious, reflect consciousness, although this Paramarthika Jiva can only gain this self-knowledge through its reflect, its Chidabhasa. A Chidabhasa with the knowledge of my true nature as Paramartha. And then this Chidabhasa, with this knowledge in regard to the I am that Paramartha, it's said to be the Paramarthika Jiva, and then understands that everything in Vyavaharika Jiva is but another dream. It is mithya. It's again mithya. Why? Because I understood that I am Paramarthika. And again, from the practical and direct understanding that liberates and frees the individual from the anxiety derived of the identification with the Vyavaharika Jiva. We never really identify with the Pratibhasika except during the dream. But then it's over. We never try to say, oh, maybe I was that Jiva. No. But we solidly, we identify with the Vyavaharika Jiva. So this Vyavaharika Chidabhasa, it needs to be converted in Paramarthika Jiva, Paramarthika original consciousness, okay? So this is going to bring this Vyavaharika to the same level of the Pratibhasika Satya, reality, as just a projection, okay? So now, to what degree this understanding is going to benefit the jiva. So it's not enough to understand that this is a dream and that is also a dream, okay? It's going to benefit us only to the extent that we understand the empirical nature of these two realities, no? The dream and the awakening reality. And we understand the true only reality as Satchitananda, my conscious existence, the light of conscious existence. So it's useless to make all this analysis of the empirical, fleeting nature of the dream world and the awakened physical material world. We need to understand that, within this apparent reality, there is the absolute reality, and this absolute reality is Satya. And I am that Satya. I am that Paramartha. Yeah? Ananda. Yeah? I am that Paramartha. Yeah? Jiva is equal to Paramartha. Yeah? I am that Brahman. So I am this consciousness. So we analyze these teachings that disclose the apparent nature of both the dream and the waking universe, but only for the sake of understanding and claiming our nature as Paramarthika Jiva. So, and then we are good. You understand? What is the good, Lin? To say, oh yes, my Vyavaharika Jiva, my Jiva in the awakened state is just a dream. But, I'm still invested in my Vyavaharika Jiva. You understand? I'm still totally identified or largely identified. Oh, no, but my true nature is Paramarthika Jiva. But that is a little bit difficult because it's too subtle, too philosophical, too abstract. You understand? So we need to develop a subtle mind, a scientific mind, so that not only we see through logic these realities, as different sort of gradations of the same projections, you understand, of similar projections, but we can see the background as consciousness, the background as Brahman, you understand, on which these projections occur. So we need to be able to see and to claim, and then we need to claim, I am the Pratibhasika, the Paramarthika Jiva, and then only then I'm safe, okay? Because I know that my Vyavaharika Jiva may suffer whatsoever is there in the script of one's Prarabdha karma, but I am free and independent from all experience, which apply to my inferior natures, you understand? So we need to claim our Paramarthika Jiva nature. There is an important difference that needs to be noted. When I wake up from the dream world disappears. When I wake up from the Vyavaharika dream, the dream of Maya Ishvara, through self-knowledge, I claim I am Paramarthika Jiva. And then some people will say, and then, okay, and then this dream is going to disappear. No, the world does not disappear. Okay, does not, and then he used a very nice word here. He said the world does not instantaneously disappear. The world does not instantaneously disappear. Why? Because I still have to exhaust some Prarabdha. Then the momentum of my Prarabdha is going to hold this until what? Until I lose my instrument, my Vyavaharika instrument, my physical body, vivified by my subtle body, the subtle body. So as long as I have the instrument of experience, the momentum of my Prarabdha is going to hold the Vyavaharika in play. Okay, it was a projection of Ishvara. I got this instrument. This instrument was designed so that I could understand my true nature as Paramarthika Jiva. But now that I understood it, tudo bem, I have the option to say, okay, I don't want to be part of something that's not real. Okay, but most people say, okay, now I can enjoy a little bit more this planet, in spite of the difficulties and the violations of Dharma. I can enjoy a little bit because I understood that this is all such as a movie project in myself within the scope of my conscious existence. Huh? Okay. So it is due to the power of one Prabhupada karma. One example is given is the blue sky or the mirage on the desert. Once you learn that it's just a projection or a misperception, a misconcept, once you learn that, that does not cancel any and all projections or physical phenomena. We do not create them. They belong to Ishvara, yeah? The physical laws and so on. Okay, and the way this universe is structured. We have no say, we have no power, so everything remains the same, but we understand that is such as a mirage.
Hey, Arlinda, can I make a comment? The other day, I had an experience where I was no longer limited by the body-mind entity, and all of life was just happening within me, consciousness. Yeah, that was it. It was beautiful, and this is very relevant to actually what happened in that experience.
Yeah. So you said that you had an experience. You were there in India, and then you had it was there while your visit to India.
Yeah, it was last week. Yeah.
Okay. So you had. Can you repeat again? You had an experience that.
But I was no longer limited by the body-mind entity, and I've been claiming myself as consciousness, and all of life was just happening within me, consciousness. And I was aware of it all being a dream and consciousness being the only reality.
Okay, yeah, I'm questioning that because you present that as an experience. So that experience, every experience by nature is time bound. It comes and go. So once that experience went, so what has remained from that experience, Mark?
What has remained is I know that I'm consciousness, and I know the world is a dream. That this is just not the absolute reality. But consciousness is the only absolute reality, conscious existence.
Exactly.
So, but still the vasanas come up, and still I need to work on purifying the mind.
No, so it's all about that. As we say, knowledge. As we say, knowledge is that which is always good, meaning to say it's always ever present once it's known. Yeah? So an experience is as good as our interpretation. So your interpretation is correct because you're interpreting within the light of the teachings of the Upanishads. Okay, so your interpretation is good. So an experience, so it's something in which we can extract knowledge, and the knowledge may be the knowledge that we have already as students of Vedanta, but it gains more of a validation because in a certain moment I have seen it absolutely clearly. Okay, I know what you're talking about because I the last years, yeah, I was visiting the south of India, and I had some beautiful experience that were all reinforcing my self-knowledge, you understand, and the understanding, but always focusing not in the experience, but the consolidation of my knowledge, consolidation of self-knowledge, you understand? Because experience we know come and go. All experience, they come and go. So it's just a consolidation, this and never developing a vasana to a desire for the repetition of such experience, okay? So this we need to leave it alone. Just say what I gain from this. What is the extract, the nectar from this experience? Consolidation of my self-knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we go to which verse? 42. So we have seen the 41. That he who is empirical Jiva sees the empirical physical material world as real, but the real Jiva knows it to be as unreal as the dream world. And then the verse 42 continues with in the same line saying that, but the Paramarthika Jiva, the Paramarthika Jiva, that Jiva with self-knowledge, clear, firm, knows its true identity with Brahman. And he knows that Brahman alone and only Brahman is the only reality. He does not see the other. If he sees any other, he knows it to be illusory. In other words, he does not see duality. He does not see the plurality of objects as real plurality, real duality. He sees it as an illusion, as a projection of namarupas, okay? So he sees, but he does not bind it with, such as the Anyani. Yeah? So the Paramarthika Jiva, he knows I am that Brahman, and this Brahman is the only reality. And everything he sees as these namarupas, they see as apparent objects, okay, which are such as a movie or such as an illusion or such as a dream. And he does not identify neither with the dream nor with the dreamer. And the dreamer here, we are talking about the Vyavaharika dreamer. No? We can see, it's difficult to say Vyavaharika dreamer because the Pratibhasika dreamer dreams the dream world. And the Pratibhasika dreamer, it does not really produce the dream, but sustains the dream. You understand? So our how you say, we give, okay, our attribution of reality to this dream, which was dreamed by Maheshwara with our collaboration, okay? So our attribution of reality is a form of turning this apparent reality, this physical material, into reality as if it was real. And then this Jiva, who sees the empirical world as real, needs to assimilate this self-knowledge so that the real nature of the Jiva, okay, is going to understand the unreality of this Pratibhasika world, this Vyavaharika world, this physical material world. So that's basically what he's saying there. It's more or less, the Jnani knows it to be unreal in spite of the existence, persistence of this empirical reality for as long as that our Prarabdha karma persists. So let's see what Swamiji gives us here. The author is condensing the Vedantic teachings in this verse. Now, this we already saw. We are on the 42. The Pratibhasika Jiva sees the dream world as real. And when he wakes up, he becomes the Vyavaharika Jiva. The dream world becomes unreal, and the awakened world is seen as real. When the Vyavaharika Jiva wakes up and recognizes that he is the Paramarthika Jiva, the awakening world becomes unreal. The awakened Jiva becomes another dream. And the oneness of the awaker with Brahman is recognized. You see that he puts the oneness of what? Of the Vyavaharika Jiva. It's only the Vyavaharika Jiva, the Jiva in the awakened states, that can recognize I am that Brahman. I am Paramarthika Jiva. So this becomes then a fact for that Jiva, for that Jnani, for that Jiva Mukta. By constant Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, this Jnani is going to retain this knowledge as a fact in the surface of the mind at all times. This is beautiful. Says a lot. Okay, we have this knowledge. This knowledge grows in certainty, conviction. Okay, and then we keep doing our work. We don't just keep expose our mind right and left to all kind of garbage, but we keep doing our work, our work. Of what? Association with the scripture, association with our Mahatmas, our gurus. So we keep doing our work. How so? by constant association with the scripture, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. That, in that way, the yoni is going to retain this knowledge at all times. It's going to retain at the surface of the mind. This is beautiful. What do you mean? It means that it's not subject to forgetfulness. You understand? When it's retained, I put it in terms that the knowledge becomes alive and present and alive. It remains present where? In the surface of the mind. We don't need to recollect all the teachings and remember because we forgot. No, it is retained at the surface of the mind at all times. Gaining the knowledge is relatively easy. But the problem is that the knowledge gained in the intellect at the time of Shravana and Manana does not help with life situations because the relative personality of the Jiva was not really transformed. It's still prominent. Again, we are talking about assimilation of the knowledge, internalization of the knowledge, in a way that what? It's going to transform the individual, is going to make one's emotional personality wise. So, and then repeating his words, which is very nice. Why it's not necessarily enough? Because unless it helps the yoni in the difficult situations of life, it means that the world still has a certain degree of reality to the jiva, and the roles that the jiva plays still seem to be prominent. So the world is still prominent, my roles as the experience. So we need to do our Shravana, Mana, and Nididhyasa so that this knowledge gained in the intellect at the beginning of this process of self-recognition, permanent, remains established on the very surface of our mind, available for usage, working for us at all times. I like this expression. When it's alive at the surface of the mind, is working for us at all times. Because knowledge is always good once it's no longer subject to forgetfulness. The fact that one is Paramarthika Jiva should be foremost in the mind. Even a wise person gets dragged into identify with the Vyavaharika Jiva. And so long Shravana, Mana, Nididhyasana is required, for as long as I still get dragged into the identification with the Vyavaharika Jiva. You say, he's not talk about the Pratibhasika Jiva, because Pratibhasika Jiva we never identify as the dreamer. Vyavaharika Jiva. So one needs to keep doing that. And Sureshwara Charya says that this process is to be invoked. It's a lifelong process, okay? So from different gurus, different teachers, we say, yes, it's better to remain associated with this until the last breath, okay? Because this ignorance, it is beginningless and it dies hard, and it's ready to somehow reestablish, if we just move away from the scriptures. And we see it all the time. I have my group Vedanta Brazil, and I saw it coming when the situation started becoming more and more difficult in Brazil. The Jagata, the conditions of the field has become more and more challenged. I was telling people, now you see that our group is going to shrink. Why? Because, if the person does not have this knowledge and does not value this knowledge and keeps totally committed to convert this knowledge into always established knowledge, to insulate me from the ups and downs of life, So they are going to freak out with the difficulties of the field, you understand? And the first thing they throw what? Is the Shravana, Mana, Nididhyasana. Everybody goes around, doing things to try to find some sort of relative security when Mithya is losing its structure. You understand? So it's a lifelong process. The one that is established as Paramarthika Jiva will not identify with the Vyavaharika Jiva, or much less with Pratibhasika Jiva. Yeah? So it identifies with the Vyavaharika only for carry on its duties. Of course, we need to identify with our inferior nature as the awaker to perform certain actions. So this one is going to identify only for the purpose of carrying some duties, okay? Due to its karma. Yeah? So he plays the role that each situation demands, and he plays it well and effortless, and she moves on the next situation, even as he transacts in these roles. This Jiva Mukta, this Paramarthika Jiva, constantly remembers that all of this is Mithya and I am Satya. Once this knowledge is forgotten, the world will become Satya and I will become Mithya. It is very nice. If we lose perspective, if the knowledge is not properly established, if I don't live from that perspective, and then the first mistake we do is attribute reality to Mithya and I become Satya. You see it all the time. And then you see people moving away from Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and trying to find the solution in Mithya because they think that Mithya is the reality. The world's capacity to bind the Jiva is so powerful. In front of the Satya world, the Jiva is overwhelmed. The world can be tackled only by seeing it to be Mithya. We need to keep this vision, this Upanishadic vision alive. This is all Mithya. That is what Paramarthika Jiva does. He is a true Jiva Mukta Jiva. Jiva Mukta Jiva. Okay, so we will begin next class from 43. And so the text, the last verse is 46. So we have 4 more verses. And then there is a summary there, a recap that it's going to be up to everyone to go there and look at this final summary of Swami Paramarthananda. Okay? So it has been very nice to unfold this teaching and to study this teaching together with you. I did it before in Portuguese language. And I hope you enjoy. And after this, we're gonna be fully concentrated in carry on our Panchadasi. We are more or less halfway with the book of James. And then later on, we see if we're going to start bringing the transcriptions of Swami Paramarthananda. If we bring in the transcription, then we need to consider that this Panchadasi may last until the end of our lives. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my good friends. Namaste. Until next time, Ishwara willing. Mark, thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you, Ronald. Did you mail that?
I've just got it all sorted. I've got it packaged and I'll put it in the post tomorrow.
Okay, so look at, they are going to offer you different means to mail it. Okay, so okay. And when it comes here, You put in one of this box or two box? One box?
Yeah, no, I put it in one box, and I put the one box inside an envelope.
Okay, so it does not hurt to put. You're gonna have to write on the post office there the value. Put the real value in rupees, because otherwise
Okay.
they challenge me here. They are going to ask me an invoice or this and that to see if I have to pay tax or not. Okay. Again,
Do you want me to include an invoice, Arlindo?
please include it there, and then they are going to give you a paperwork, because you need to send it in a way that can be tracked, and there you put again
Okay.
the value. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go back to the shop and get an invoice. And do that.
Again, thank you. Lovely to meet you again. Namaste.
Good night. Thank you.